welcome back to Everything Grows. Yay! I know, you can be mad at me. I was gone for 2 weeks. I needed a little tiny break. I'm adjusting to a new job. That's that. But how are you guys doing? How is life? How has life been the past 2 weeks? I went to go see Barbie a week and a half ago, and it was the greatest experience of being 25. One of the greatest experiences I've had being 25 was going to see Barbie. Who would have thought I would ever say that in my entire life? But if you haven't seen Barbie, please go see it, because it is one of the greatest movies I've ever seen in a very long time. The reason why I mentioned Barbie is today, that's what we're talking about. We're talking about my quarter life crisis. And Barbie, she had some crises of her own. So there was a lot of points in the movie that I was able to relate to. And if you've seen the movie, I'm sure you've been able to relate as well. But it hit a lot of points for me just about what it means to try to run away from reality, knowing that deep down you're going to have to face it someday. You're going to have to go out into the real world and find yourself and hope that you have the strength to get through it and to handle all the complicated emotions that come with growing up. But I'll leave that for the rest of the episode. But anyways, let's get into my quarter life crisis. Billie Eilish's song, What Was I Made For, has been in my head. I cannot stop singing it. When did it end? All the enjoyment. I'm sad again. Okay, I'm not going to sing the rest of it because I don't know about the copyright and all that. But that song means so much to me. And it just brings me back to my childhood and the things that I used to enjoy before I had to grow up. But I wanted to read a certain part of my journal, as always, because it ties into the topic of today's episode. But I'm going to be reading from August 21st, 2022. So that's pretty recent. But let's read. It's scary how fast we're all growing up. Here I am in my world of being a kid because that's familiar. And here's everyone else having babies, a mortgage, and pretty great jobs. I've always been afraid of that next step, but this may be the most controlled I felt in my entire life. Not gonna lie, that is facts on facts on facts, because that was the most controlled I'd ever felt in my life. I was controlled by the negativity that was going into my mind, all these intrusive thoughts, depending on social media for validation, for my mental validation at that. I was depending on every ounce of information that could explain what was going on with me. I just couldn't look to God for anything. And that's the worst thing I could have done, was depend on information from the internet to explain my mental state. I started to think I had things that I really didn't. I was just going through a rough time. I was growing up. I was going through some post-grad blues. I had just graduated college. I was going through some struggles with trying to find a job. I was super insecure about my position in life, and I just felt like I had no control. I felt like I was being controlled. And at this age of 25, sometimes I still feel like that. I feel like my thoughts have more control over me than I do. And a quarter life crisis is basically this concern you have for the direction of your life when you're young. When you're young, well, depending on what age, but when you're a young adult, you're thinking about all the things your parents and your grandparents did at this age, and you're not doing it right. And I'm not sure there's a right or wrong way to grow up. I think you sort of just have to live and know that you're not going to expect to live the same life as every 25-year-old you know. You have a best friend who you've grown up with for your whole life, and you guys have done all the same things together. And then they go to a separate college, you go to one, and then you graduate, they may get married, and everything really does change from there. And you can be the same age, but be on completely different paths. So being 25 really is interesting because people your age are having babies. And that's really where it gets difficult for me to process the fact that we really are out here being adults, making adult decisions, living as adults would live. And yes, I always feel as if I'm behind. I always feel as if I haven't lived enough. And that's mostly just due to my values. There are certain things I did do in college that, yeah, I wouldn't do again. But hey, I lived that life. That was a different time of my life. And this is now. Right now, I'm more so focused on honing in on the relationships that mean the most to me, and trying to forge a better relationship with God, and trying to get used to new responsibilities, new routine. If you're in a period of life where you're trying to adjust to change, just know that you're going to get through it. It's going to get easier. I think being in your 20s is like this state of adjusting, because you're adjusting to the adult world, and the adult world happens to be the real world. And I read somewhere that when you're a kid, depending on your childhood, if you had parents that supported you, that took great care of you, who just protected you from the world, you would have a difficult time living in the real world as you got older. And sometimes I felt like that was me, probably because I haven't lived enough hard days, but there's always a reason for everything, and God knows what he's doing. And I believe that he's put me in situations now because he really does want to challenge me, and he wants to test my faith and just help me believe that I am capable of many, many great things. And this quarter life crisis, it's scary sometimes because you feel as if you're doing everything wrong, as if you're not meeting all the expectations of your family members, and maybe you're not dating right now, or maybe you're not financially where you'd like to be, or maybe you're not living on your own yet. And there's a lot of shame around adults living with their parents. I know some would prefer to be more independent than others, but hey, everyone has different circumstances and different reasons for living with their parents, and you can't judge a book by its cover. I think about Barbie a lot, because Barbie, she was living, she was dancing, she was doing everything that, a Barbie would do. And then one day she just realized that, hey, this life that we're living, where we're just hiding from the harsh realities of the world, like, we can't just hide from it forever, right? We're going to have to go to the real world and eventually discover more of who we are and how we can get through these struggles. When Barbie had to go to the real world, it felt like me entering my adult life. And she gets... when she gets made fun of at the high school with the daughter who's like telling her all about how much she hates Barbie and everything like that, it really just reminds you of the fact that life is not always going to be super kind to you at this age. There are times where people are going to do some very horrible things to you. They're going to say things about you, and you're going to have to learn how to get through it. But I really did feel for Barbie in that moment. And I'm a sensitive person. Even till this day, as an adult, when people yell at me or tell me things, it really does hurt me. And I have to try to hold my tears in. I felt for Barbie in that moment. I really, really did. Because she was given this perception of life. And it's weird that anxiety is a thing, that anger is a thing. All these things are a part of living, and she hadn't felt much of that before, so she was trying to make sense of it and understand it, and it was hard for her. And then she kind of started breaking down and becoming more of a human. Her feet became flat. It's almost like she wasn't perfect anymore, and she was struggling with the perfectionism and trying to just be on top, because that's what being a Barbie is, right? It's about being perfect. And isn't that how it is at this age? You're struggling with your thoughts. You're dealing with all these things that are fighting against you. That's what Barbie was going through at that time. And I felt for her in that moment. Being a girl is hard. Being a girl can be hard. And growing up in your 20s, your body is changing as well. And for me, I'm trying to get used to that. In the previous episode, I totally forgot about doing this segment, Small Talks with Faith. Small Talks with Faith reminds me of the early days of my content creation. If you were with me when I did Car Talks with Faith, you were an OG, and you were a real one, because that was a lot of fun for me. And it really did inspire this podcast. The reason why I actually deleted some of it off of my Instagram was because stalkers are a thing, and I didn't want anyone knowing where I lived, okay? But I really did enjoy it. 2021 was a special time. It really was. Summer 2021. And I can't wait to finally get back in the rhythm of things once I adjust to this new stage of life. I've been watching Dance Moms. I was doing my braids over the weekend and I was watching Dance Moms, and that show is really, really good. It really, really is. And if you guys have any sort of reality TV shows that you'd recommend me watch, please let me know, because I really do love reality TV. Believe it or not, I love Big Brother. I love Love Island. I don't really like The Bachelor that much, but I do. I love all the housewife shows. What else? Also, if anyone knows of a really good edge tamer, let me know, because your girl is trying to grow her hair out because she decided to go blonde at one point in her life. And though it was a great experience for her to experiment, it definitely wasn't the time yet. And we are taking responsibility for our eagerness to change. Barbie thought she needed to have permission to be human. And why is it so hard for us, especially as humans, to just be okay with being human? Why is it that we feel the need to live up to everyone's expectations of our lives? Why do I feel like I need to be better or impress everyone with my amazing capabilities? Like, why do I feel the need to live up to this expectation so much at 25? Why? I don't know. It's something that I'm still trying to figure out myself. And who knows, maybe you know the answer. I don't know. But it's something that we're going to have to continue to discover. And Barbie, she had to discover what it meant to not be perfect. And it scared her, the thought of living a life with flaws, right? Cellulite? Cellulite. She didn't know what that was, but she was able to accept herself in the end. And that is something that we have to work towards, is accepting ourselves, accepting the position of our lives, and just knowing that there is a bigger plan for us, and that all these struggles that we're dealing with within our heads, they're not worth it. They're there to keep us from reaching our full potential as adults, as young adults. And towards the very end of the movie, when the creator of Barbie is just telling Barbie, like, hey, you don't need permission to be human. And also, if you want to be human, go on. Like, it's your choice if you want to accept being human. And what a validating moment that was, to just close your eyes and feel. You know, you don't need permission to feel. You can just feel and just know, like, hey, I'm having some struggles right now in my life, but they don't define me. And Barbie's struggles didn't define her. And I believe that was the purpose of the movie. And that's the purpose of life, is to accept yourself, is to give yourself the room to be a human being. And just know that you're going to mess up. You're never going to be perfect. And that's okay. And you ought to be so proud of yourself. And you ought to look in the mirror every day and just realize how blessed you truly are to be here, to be living, and to just have these amazing people in your life that you're able to learn from, that you're able to grow with. And that is something that I'm trying to focus on every single day. If you think you've experienced a quarter life crisis in your life, or you may be experiencing one right now, here are just some little things that could probably help you. So one, I like to be mindful of what's going on. I used to just live my life and just ignore my emotions. I don't do that anymore. I try to take action with my emotions. I like to write in my journal. I like to pray about it. I like to talk to someone about it. I do whatever I can to just be aware and to just discover more what's really going on, because I don't want to live with these emotions. I want to take action. So be mindful, guys. Practice mindfulness. Be self-aware. Just know yourself. If you have to go back to the beginning, go back to the beginning. Do something that can help you understand who you are a little better. For me, that's going back to discovering more of my inner child. There's a lot of things that I used to love doing as a kid. You need to get back to that. You need to get back to the things that remind you of how great you are. And that's one of the many, many great things about embracing your inner child. It's that's probably the most authentic version of yourself. Find something that reminds you of art, painting, singing, whatever it is, sports, working out, something that just brings you back to the simpler times, because it really does make a difference. I would say another thing for me is to be very mindful of the advice that I take from others, because it's not always worth it to take advice from other people, especially when they don't know your life. And I know that at this age, a lot of people are telling you a lot of advice and just saying, hey, you should probably be doing that with your life. But hey, sometimes you know yourself better than they do. Just discern and know what's worth holding on to and what's not. But those are just a couple tips that I'd say have really helped me a lot. I wouldn't imagine myself doing anything else right now, because where I am is where I'm meant to be. And don't compare yourself to other people. That's like the other thing. Don't compare yourself. Don't think that you're not good enough, that you're not, pretty enough, like whatever it is that you're thinking at this age. Like, come on, there is no perfect 25-year-old. I hope you guys have enjoyed this episode though, because it really has meant so much to me. My prayer for you is that you're able to live again and just be in the moment and enjoy what it means to be a young adult, trying to find your way through life and discovering what brings them joy, and knowing that there is no shame in not having it all together. No shame at all. But thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed the episode. Please make sure to follow Everything Grows on Instagram at Everything Grows Podcast. I'm really happy to be back, and I'll see you guys next Wednesday. Always remember that everything grows in its own time. So take your time with life and everything will be just fine. Bye everyone.